ambulatory wheelchair user, and my last trip to Disney World was kind of awkward. I've talked about this a little bit on my threads, but I wanted to make a video here about it as well. And while I am hypercritical of Disney, I also do talk about good things and good things that I do like about Disney. And I will add that I visited the very same park 2 weeks prior and didn't have this experience. I think that's why I find Disney so frustrating right now, because I still genuinely think it's like one of the most accessible places on earth, but I think that that becomes less so every single day. And the moral of both of the stories that I'm going to tell you is to simply listen to disabled people. Story 1, we see that there's a showing of Frozen at the Hyperion. We're like, heck yeah, and they give me a little slip that says to go sit in the back, that there's a seat for me. I get there, and it becomes like abundantly clear that there actually wasn't a seat for me, and they didn't know what to do with me. And so they're like running around, and me and my spouse are just so confused. And then they come back, and we ask them, we're like, hey, so like, you know, like we would prefer not to have a lot of transfers, but if we have to do a transfer, like, will the wheelchair just be like right here on the back wall? Because if that's so, then we can totally like walk that distance. I'm an ambulatory wheelchair user. With that being said, like, I need to know how far I'm going to be expected to walk and where my mobility device is going to be afterwards, because I don't have very long, you know what I mean? So we ask, we're like, hey, so like, if it like was alongside this back wall, like where this other stuff is, like we could sit in any of those seats and transfer and it would be fine. And they interrupt and basically say, well, it wouldn't be. And we're like, okay. And then it gets really awkward. They move 2 families after we're like trying to interject and be like, hey, we can like move some. We just like, where's the wheelchair gonna go? Like, you guys just aren't listening to us. But they made 2 families move and one of them was in a scooter, okay? And do you want to know where they had them park the scooter? Exactly where we asked if our wheelchair would be sitting there. We asked that verbatim, and they told us no. And then they did the same thing when they kicked somebody else out of their seat. And we're trying so hard just to be like, let them do their job. And it was so awkward, and it felt weird for me, right? Because I'm like trying to say like, hey, I don't really need that. Like, if we could work it out like this, it's absolutely fine. They're like, oh, it won't be. And then it was. If they listened to me and like we communicated, I was trying to communicate, they wouldn't have had to move 2 families, which made the entire show just so awkward. And then there was a second story in the same day. Like I said, this is Hollywood Studios Parks. Again, I visited the parks literally like 2 weeks prior, and then Animal Kingdom like a week before that, and they were all great. But then there's those experiences that I have where I am like, woof. I never ride Smuggler's Run. It's been literal years since I've ridden it. They closed down Muppets, and we haven't been in like the Star Wars side in a while. We wanted to try like the gluten-free Ronto wraps, so we're like over there anyway. And kiddo's like, can we please like do this ride, please? Honestly, I remember it being quite gentle. If you guys watch, I have a video of me riding it, but it wasn't. But I have to talk about the loading process onto the ride. Again, stepping over like my boundaries and like what I've already told the staff. So we get all the way, and it's kind of set up really weird. They like put you down these hallways. I really don't know how the ride works. I can only imagine it's just like these hallways, and then like inside are basically like machines that are sort of like, you remember like the McDonald's like car or plane that would like, you could rock and stuff? I imagine it's like a very sophisticated version of that. So they say we can take our wheelchair all the way up until the ride. We say, great, like that's all we need. We get to the ride, and she asks if I'm okay transferring. And I say, yes, that's great. Can we park the wheelchair here? And she says, yes. And she says, well, how are you going to load onto the ride? And I said, well, I'm going to get up and my spouse is going to assist me. And she keeps insisting that I need this transfer chair, which I've never experienced this at a ride. And I'm like, I don't think I need that. I really don't think I need the transfer chair. And this lasted a minute, like a back and forth minute of like, no. And my spouse also interjecting, being like, no, like we really don't need, we don't want you to do that. And kind of like the most like despondent, but like annoyed voice, she goes, well, we'll see how that goes. And then she continues to hold on to the seat as we load, and surprise, we get on the Millennium Falcon just fine. But before that, I had to be interjected multiple times of somebody trying to push me in a transfer chair that I did not need, that could have potentially like hurt me worse. I don't know. Listen to disabled people. Like, I'm telling you guys things, like I was telling these people things, right, that would have been just so much more simplistic on them too. It's not just like for me, it's like for you guys. I didn't need to have two people moved, but they did that instead of just listening to me, and then they did exactly what I asked about, and then just overriding me and overriding me, and then when they finally give up, like, I don't want to say arguing with me because that's kind of not really what it was. They're just like, well, we'll see how that goes. Like, very unenthused, unimpressed, did not believe that I was going to make it into that seat. And honestly, I don't know, the ride operators more than not are really good. Oops, that's my Tamagotchi, so sorry. They've been like really good more than not. I've had like a few weird experiences at the after hours parties, but up until like this point, everything's always been so accessible. Like the after hours parties are kind of like, will it be accessible? Will they utilize DAS? Will they do this? It changes every time. It changes on the staff, the cast member that's working that night. And that's really frustrating to kind of navigate as a person just trying to go to the park. And again, I want to stress that like Disney is still one of the most accessible places that I can visit. We still visit often. I think I've gotten sick maybe once on their allergy foods. More or less, I feel accommodated for. I thought their Christmas party allergy stuff was but we could do like a whole deep dive of how looking back, I feel a little iffy about my Christmas party experience. But really, to drive us all home, listen to disabled people. Like, I'm not glued to the seat. I just need clear and plain communication so I can manage my disability. Especially with all the rollbacks that they have with like the DAS. It's like, I can't even imagine waiting in line for like an hour, standing there, sitting there, and then to get there and have them argue with you back and forth. I used the DAS services, and so yes, I was waiting, but I wasn't waiting in the deep of the line, you know what I mean? So I can only imagine going through all that and then getting to the end to be kind of questioned like that would have made me even more uncomfortable. I was really uncomfortable with the Hyperion situation just because other people were affected, and I tried so hard to tell them no, like I was fine. Again, same park 2 weeks prior, great. And then I had like this one visit where I'm like, oh, okay. And that's kind of how Disney's been as a disabled person who visits the parks often. That's how it's been like maybe like the last year, last 2 years. It's kind of been going that way. I hope it gets better, but I seem to be having more and more bad experiences, I hate to say, especially alongside the accessibility and disability front.